Hi guys, tonight we're showing you how to patch a snare drum and a bass drum on your wonderful analog modular synthesizer. Before we start to explain the patch, let's hear it. There are two aspects to programming drums on a modular synthesizer. The first is getting the drum sounds to sound realistic, programming the drum sounds themselves, and the second aspect is sequencing them. Tonight we're just looking at producing the sounds. How do we connect up the modules to get a realistic snare drum and a realistic bass drum? Once we can trigger it manually, as I did just now, you can always set up either analog or MIDI sequencing to hit them in time to get a beat. Okay, so let us now look at the individual patches. There's also two levels to the patches. One is the actual topology, the way the modules are plugged up, and the other one is the setting of the knobs. The setting of the knobs is absolutely crucial to getting a realistic sound, and there's quite some interaction with the various knobs once the modules are patched up. So you must get the knobs set accurately if you hope to reproduce the exact sound that I got. Otherwise you get all kinds of sounds, but they may not in fact sound like a snare or a bass drum. Okay, the start of both of the sounds is the envelope generator, and I trigger it with that nice red button that you're seeing there, and the envelope generator is set the same for both of the two sounds. The attack is on 0, the sustain and release are on 0, and the decay is set to 1.8. Okay? In both cases, the output of the envelope generator goes into a multiple in which all three connections are used. So it splits and it goes three places. The output of your envelope generator goes to your VCA, it goes to your state variable filter, and it also goes to the CV in of your state variable filter. Okay, so one is going to the control input of your VCA, the other one is going to the audio input of your state variable filter, and the last one is going to the CV input that controls the frequency of your state variable filter. The VCAs are also set identically. I'm actually using them on the linear, not the exponential setting, and both of the knobs are set to 0. So we're using the control input that doesn't go through the knob, control input 2, signal input 1, and the output of both of the two VCAs just goes into a 4-channel mixer where I've got the levels set to all. That's just so that I can mix together my snare drum sound and my bass drum sound and send it out to my mixer. Send it out, well yes, to my audio mixer and then to the amplifier. So the real heart of this sound is the state variable filter. And that's why you might want to have more than one state variable filter in your rig. In fact, you should have a few of them. Several state variable filters. I have two right now, which is why I set up one for the bass and one for the snare. Now with the snare, you're going to take some noise and put it in to get the snare sound. Okay? So I'm using the Q110 noise module for this, and the noise level is set to maximum, and I'm taking the white noise output and I'm putting it into the variable input, signal input of my state variable filter, which is also set to all, to maximum. So basically, in fact, we've got maximum level on the noise and maximum level on the signal input, as you can see there in the video. We're using the band pass output of the state variable filter in both cases. I tried both the high pass and the low pass, and I found that the band pass gave me the most pleasing result in both cases. So we're taking the band pass output for both of them. The CV input for the center frequency, which is actually coming from the multiple which is being fed by the output of your envelope generator, is going into the variable CV input in both cases. And the levels are very slightly different. In the case of the snare, we have the level set to 1.5, and in the case of the bass drum, we have the level set to 0.9. The frequency and resonance settings are the most crucial for the type of sound that you're doing. Okay, so for the snare drum setting, we have both the frequency and the resonance set to approximately 3. But to be more accurate, it's 3.2 on the frequency and 3.1 on the resonance for the snare drum sound. For the bass drum sound, the frequency is set to 3, just a pivy lower, and the resonance is set to 5, quite a bit higher. Now, the quality control is very good on these modules from Synthesizers.com. So chances are, if you create the system and set it up with the exact same settings, it will probably produce a similar sound. But the very slightest touch to the knobs, particularly the frequency setting, can make a big difference. So if your settings come up 0.2 or even 0.4 different from mine to get the same results, don't be surprised. This is analog gear after all, so you're not going to get exact settings like you would with a digital system. But you have to tweak the sound somewhat by ear, and you'll find that the very slightest little pressure on the knob, maybe turning it 0.1 or 0.2, particularly in the frequency setting, can make a big difference and a big impact on how it sounds, from being either a realistic drum to something that sounds totally synthesized. Well, thank you for watching the Stephen Mendes channel, and we'll see you soon again.